Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to continue our romp through the Chaos Daemons range, doing our range reviews for each of the Chaos Gods, split up whilst I'm having a bit of a break, and today we're going to take a look at Khorne, and of course we're starting with the Bloodthirsty, the big, angry lad himself. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the oldest of the greater demons currently on offer. I have to admit, it's also my least favourite. That being said, it's not bad. I don't dislike it, I just like the others more than this. It's one of those situations where I was like, well, it comes fourth. Not because it's terrible, but because the other three are just so good. It's a perfectly fine model. There are little gripes I have here and there, but I mean, the main one is the fire. The fire on the base. It's my least favourite way of basing something Games Workshop has done when it comes to this kind of model, because it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel organic. I mean, in that particular situation, the way he's holding the weapons, it looks... Is he landing? Is he taking off? Is he just floating serenely across the battlefield? I don't know. The fact that it's elevated to that extent, and elevated by something that is so isolated and singular. Like, if the rest of the base was covered in that sort of flame, I wouldn't think twice. I'd be like, okay, cool, there's like a fiery base, it's just flame, wherever he goes, flame coming out of the ground. That's awesome. That's not what this is, though. That, to me, I cannot look at that without just going, well, they've just put that there to make him higher on the base. That's all they've done. And that's bad. You don't want that. You don't want to look at something and go, well, that's not a naturally occurring thing. They've done that so that he can be a bit up high. It takes me out of it. You know, it just breaks that barrier where I stop seeing it as part of, like, the natural kind of feel of the model, and more just, this was a design choice made to make him elevated. By contrast, that looks solid. For a start, that's my favourite, like, horn, fate, like, head combination. I forget whether it's 3 different heads, or whether it's 2 faces with customisable horns. I can't remember which way around it is, but that's my favourite of all the options. The 4 horns, like, kind of arcing around at the front and then going up the top, look absolutely fantastic. It looks brilliant. Kind of gives me slightly like Diablo vibes. I think is that a fair comparison? It might not be. Maybe maybe I'm remembering the wrong big angry demon. I don't know. But I do really like that, and I much prefer this particular pose, even though it's the same pose. It's the same pose pretty much. There's not that much difference between the two. The difference is lower to the ground. Lower to the ground, which makes it look like he is landing to absolutely annihilate someone. That feels more dynamic. Because the distance to the ground is so much reduced, it looks more dynamic. The way the wings are kind of snapped back, it looks like it's coming in at speed to slam down and murder someone. It just looks so much more natural. So much more natural than that. And that to the same degree, because it's the same pose. We'll say that's the best weapon. I love that massive 2-handed axe. I have no idea what the difference between them is in-game, but that looks insane. It looks so good. It's overall a really nice model, to be fair. I mean, the kind of stretched, tearing skin effect on the wings is really nice. The armour plating looks great, as so much of Khorne's armour plates do. The kind of like hair and spines coming out of the spine is a really nice touch. It kind of adds a nice bit of detail and texture. Overall, it's a super solid model. It's just not as good as the other 3 for me. But you know what? Everyone has favourites, right? Everyone's got favourites. I'm sure this is gonna be many people's like first love when it comes to like greater demons. This is gonna be top of a considerable number of lists, I'm sure. And it does look good. It's just not quite as much like. It doesn't hit me as much as the others, if that makes sense. But it is still pretty damn awesome. And we also have Skarbrand. So Skarbrand is the named Bloodthirster, and different kit, which is a bit of a, well, I say a departure. It's not really a departure because, again, I believe these came out well before the other Greater Demons. I forget the order of release. I believe it was Bloodthirster and Skarbrand. Then I think I'm right in thinking it was the Lord of Change and Kairos Fateweaver, because they were the first of the dual kits for doing the named and the standard. Then we had the Nurgle one. I forget what the name of the named character is. I've totally forgotten. And then we've got the Keeper of Secrets and Shalaxi Hellbane. So yeah, I think these were well before those. Skarbrand looks cool. I do like Skarbrand. I prefer the basing that they've given him, like in terms of The pose is a bit less... It's a bit more kind of static. It doesn't have quite as much kind of... it's not as fluid as this, but it is a perfectly suitable kind of pose for a bloodthirster. Standing there angrily screaming at people, holding your two tooth-covered axes is a pretty on brand for Khorne. Again, the armour panels are really, really nice. I do like the wings on the Scarbrand. They're so knackered. They're just torn to shreds. I like the fact that it's like a kind of... There's like a clear progression. It's like you start out with that. You keep going long enough, you're going to end up with that as you get torn to ribbons fighting over and over and over again. Because you don't stop fighting because you're a bloodthirster. But like, the idea that eventually the wings would wear down that badly from battle damage and stuff, I really like that. I really like it. It's super nicely done. Scarbrand looks good. I think it's a really nice looking model. Lots of nice bits of detail. The lack of flesh over part of the face is a nice touch. It's doing the thing I like where you end up with this kind of asymmetrical damage. So like one side of his face, the horns are broken off, the skin's been burnt away, the eye is dead. I love that sort of thing. I really do. I really like it. Even down to him missing a tooth and having a big like chunk knocked out of the other one. That's a really nice bit of detail. Really nice bit of detail. Scarbrand definitely gets the seal of approval. Solid model. As are, in fairness, the blood letters. I really like the blood letters. They're very simple. Very simple. Simple, pretty clean as well. Just standard kind of bipedal creatures. Big old, ugly swords. The kind of horn configuration on blood letters is really nice. They're not massively complex, they're not overly kind of overly detailed, but they work. For what they are, they work really well. I will say, I mean, you can see in this image there is a real warping problem with the swords, which is a little bit off. It's not great. It's fixable. A friend of mine's got a pretty sizable Daemons of Khorne army, and the most annoying thing about it is the fact that the swords seem to flop a little bit over time, which I just don't know that I've seen on other models, really. They are getting on a bit, though, these. They are getting on a bit, I believe, anyway. The URL claims 2017, but that's going to be a rebox. They are, I still think they're decent. They could do maybe a little bit more detail here and there. They're perhaps not as crisp and sharp as more newer stuff. That doesn't make any sense. As more recent stuff. But they are pretty kind of... I'd suggest they're pretty iconic at this point. You know what a blood letter is. As soon as you see it, they do have a really nice, like, recognisable silhouette as well. Yeah, I do like the blood letters. And the banner's really cool as well. I like the banner a lot. There's quite a few kind of torn, shredded cloth banners in Warhammer, but this is one of the better ones. Now, the logical progression, of course, from the blood letter is the Bloodmaster, the Herald of Khorne, and, of course, Skulltaker. We'll start off with the Bloodmaster, which is fine. It's okay. It's alright. No 360-degree view for this guy, I've just realised, which is a bit annoying. Don't know why that is, but there you go. They just haven't done one. Yeah, I quite like it. It is quite nice. The choice to not paint the horns black on the promo image there, like the fact that if you look at all the other blood letters, like all of them, they all go from red to black. Even the one that has a similar setup in terms of the horns, except they just haven't done it for him, which is a weird choice. And I'm not really sure why they did that. It does get darker, but then you've got the silver armor over the top. I'm not a huge fan of the horns having those ornaments that go in between them, because I think it muddies the silhouette a little bit. But the rest of it I quite like. I mean, overall not bad. Overall not bad. It's, you know, slightly better looking, well, slightly more armoured blood letter, which is cool. But then again, you've got Skulltaker, and Skulltaker just looks way better. I will say the horns, like, holding the skulls is a little much for me. Now, if the horns had the skulls impaled on them, then I'd be in. I'd be 100% in on that. But just the way that's done there looks a little bit off. The massive Khorne symbol that's been, like, nailed to his forehead is hardcore. That is brand adherence that Batman would be proud of. Overall, it's a really cool model. The extra chunky sword is kind of cool. And I like the mix of gore and flame coming out of one hand. The cloak, I mean, alright, let's be honest. The cloak's dumb. The cloak's very silly. It's very silly. I mean, sometimes I think you can have too many skulls, and I think this is one of those occasions. But you know what? You know what? It's Khorne. It's Khorne. It's Khorne. He's gonna have a bunch of skulls. Of course he is. It's just a bit much. I bet he makes a right racket when he moves, doesn't he? God damn. Be able to hear him coming from a mile away. All the clanking and clunking. Sound like the dude who did the it sound like the horses from Monty Python, where they're just banging coconuts together. That's what it'd sound like. There are some nice details though. I like the base a lot. The kind of lava on the base is really cool. Again, that kind of mix of gore and flame out of one hand, and then the big brass-like skull shoulder pad is awesome. Overall, Skulltaker is pretty nice. Very over the top. Very, very over the top. Looks like the cover of a heavy metal album more than anything. But I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the dedication to the symbology of Khorne. Good looking model, I think it's fair to say. Now, Karanak is a decent looking model. Let's be fair. I kind of go back and forth on him. I do like it. But there's always something that just seems a little bit off about the proportions. I always feel like Karanak needs to be, I don't know, longer than he is, I guess. He feels kind of squat, but I don't know that that's fair. I mean, it's a very chunky model. When you look at the size of the chest, like it's not like they've just taken 3 heads and stuck it on a normal hound. They've expanded the chest out, the shoulders are further apart. They've clearly, they've taken it into account and they've done a really good job of sculpting the heads in. But I always feel like he should be just a bit longer. Like the back legs, I feel like the body should go on more. So the body should go on to like where the tail has that fur on the underside. That's where the back legs should be. The body should just be longer. Should be a bit more lithe. I mean, maybe not even lithe, you could still pack a bunch of muscle into it. Just that bit extra would make a big difference, I feel. I mean, that being said, there's some really nice details on here. I love all the little spikes and dots and like spines, and the muscle definition on the chest and the legs is cool. Overall, it is super solid. I would just wish he was just that little bit bigger more than anything. But then again, as I say, not a small model, not like tiny. It's not like he's a little wee shrimp or anything. He's proper chunky. Just wish he was chunkier, He's got the girth, but he needs the let's not. No, let's just shut up. Also, the fact that the heads have got just little differences all over is nice. And of course, we've got the Flesh Hounds, which Karanak, I believe, leads. Was just I said leader, like Alpha, the biggest one with 3 heads. Pretty much the same. They do look really good. They are good looking models. I think probably the proportions are a bit better on these for me, just because they only have the 1 head, and so they don't need to be quite as like barrel chested. They're still very barrel chested, but like not to the same degree as one that's got 3 fully sized heads at the front of it. The metal Khorne symbol that's been like branded into them is pretty hardcore. I do like that inclusion. It's nice. Again, I really like the kind of definition on the muscles around the legs and stuff. Lots of nice little details as well. The frills look really fun to paint too. They look really fun to paint. Have any of these got like... No, I was hoping some of these had like 4 eyes instead of 2. Like you've got that one head on Karanak, but unfortunately they haven't. But that's fine. I'll let them off for that. It's not their fault. They look properly menacing though. Menacing and creepy. And weird. Definitely weird. Like the frilled look is just super odd. Yeah, I like those a lot. Like them a lot. Now we're getting into Juggernaut and weird vehicle territory, because Khorne has got... Demons of Khorne have got 2 of the weirdest contraptions. Just outright weird contraptions. I love them, but they are weird. In the form of the Juggernaut, and in the form of that, whatever the hell that platform is. Because you've got the Blood Thrower and you've got the Skull Hurler, I believe it's called. Now, the Juggernaut is like really weird. In the context of the rest of the Khorne stuff, the Juggernaut is weird. Because you've got this mechanical, like forged creature. And it is mechanical. Like when you look at them, There's not really anything in the way of flesh going on that you can see, at least. Everything is cabling. Cabling and pistons is what's going on there. And it's such a weird kind of shift away from everything else that they have. But they do look awesome. Now, admittedly, this is I believe this is a resin lad, whereas the blood crushers are not. They're plastic. They do look good. They do look good. They're so odd. Like proper kind of hell-forged creations, which is really, really cool. So you'd be forgiven for thinking they're almost kind of robot wolf-esque, but you can see they've got hooves as opposed to paws. There's just lots of little things about them that I really, really like. And then you've got the very organic-looking bloodletters riding them. It's just such an interesting contrast. There's such a difference between the mechanical steed and the just demonic rider. It's really nicely done. I like it a lot. I really do. They're just really out there, but they are solid, and I think they're aging really well as well. I can't remember when these were first brought out. I think relatively not that long ago, relatively speaking. And we were talking Games Workshop here, so not that long ago. It can be like 60 years, because there's stuff that hasn't had updates for way longer than that. But yeah, the Blood Crushers, they have a special place in my heart. Just the weird mechanical freaks with just demonic riders. Why? Whose idea was it? Who came up with it? I don't know, but well done. And then we reach the aforementioned Blood Throne and Skull Cannon. That's not a Skull Hurler. The Skull Hurler is a weapon from the Lord of Skulls, I think. Pretty sure. Again, what the hell is this? Just such a weird contraption. Although these are like distinctly part flesh, part machine, with exhausts, which implies an actual engine, like an actual engine. But I don't know. They are really, really mad. They're really mad. You've got this kind of multi-mouthed, just ring of teeth-filled face, but it doesn't do anything because the cannon's on the back. It's even got a tongue. Why has it got a tongue? Do they feed it? Just, what is it? It's one of those models, but every time I see it, I'm like, I just want to meet whoever came up with this. Who was it? Maybe I have met them. Maybe I have, and I just didn't know who the designer was. Because it's just the best kind of mental. Okay, we need some sort of chariot. We need some sort of chariot for the Daemons of Khorne. What are we going to do? Okay, well, hear me out. Hear me out, right? What it is a massive cannon that's part flesh and part metal that shoots skulls. Right. What's it mounted on? Like, are we going to have Juggernauts pulling it? We've got Juggernauts. Juggernauts are mechanical, but, you know, they'd be cool to pull something. No. It's a self-contained chariot, where it's got just a set of, like, crushing wheels at the front, something that looks like it's come off a steam-powered engine at the back. We're obviously going to have, like, some sort of motor that almost looks like an exhaust array, but it's not, because it's got flesh tubes coming out of it. Is that alright, Brian? We need to have a chat. We need to have a chat, Brian, because some of your ideas recently have been, they've been interesting. I'll give you that. Definitely unique. Give you that as well. Pretty, I don't recall seeing anything like it. Mostly because, what the hell is wrong with you? It's just such a... I love it. I love it. I'm just going to say it. I love it. It's fantastic. It's such a good vehicle. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to say it. This is my favourite out of the range. Genuinely. Seriously. This is my favourite thing in the range. It's just mental. It's mental. It looks like something I'd come up with. Maybe that's why I like it so much. It sounds like something I'd do. What have you built? This. Why? Wow, I mean, it had to be built. That's what it feels like. It feels like this wasn't designed. It feels like someone had this idea at about 3 o'clock in the morning, went into work the next day and was like, I need to let this out because it's starting to physically hurt. That's what this feels like. I absolutely love it. I love it. So there you go, that's the Daemons of Khorne range. Tell me what your favourite is in the comments down below. Do you have a similar love of the of the throne / skull cannon? Do you think it's the best in the range, or are you more conservative with your with your preferences. I bet a lot of it's going to be the Bloodthirsty in fairness, but I just love this because it's mad. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon videos, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.